All right, welcome back to another Window Chats with Robyn, where anything can go wrong and you can lose internet connection. So, hopefully, that doesn't happen today. And let's invite Nadia. Going live with Nadia George. Da, 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 da. Send request. I feel like someone has to appreciate the commentary. I see a thumbs up, but I don't think it's in regards to like, oh, Nadia, she's joining. It's happening. Here we go. Waiting. Oh. So, how's everyone's day going? Thanks, Mike. Wait. Da, 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 da. I have no idea what to do with this lighting. It is like oddly sunny today. Okay, Nadia, waiting. Oh, try again. I tried to add you, Nadia. I'm not sure why it's not working. Okay, I'll try and cancel that. And then let's send that again. Send request. Yeah.
We're good. We're good. Gotta love all these technical difficulties that are happening today.
Trying multiple times and I'm like, oh, prepping before, and then I'm like, when it works, I'm like, that's step number one. We did it.
Yeah. It's always, there's always that like awkward period before where you're like, so I swear I'm gonna have someone on. Don't worry, they're coming. I've done so many of these, and every single time it's funny because I can see you before I join. So I see the person like sitting there waiting, and I'm like, I swear, like it's just waiting for it to connect.
Pressing the buttons, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think we're providing entertaining commentary, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially at 11 a.m. I mean, most people are looking outside going, what am I going to do today? Oh shit, the same thing I did for the last year. It's fun.
Yeah. But you look great. I went like super cash and you're just like super fancy.
No, you know what? Honestly, I'll give credit to the lighting in the room because I'm not even going to lie. I woke up at like 10:30. Just like,
that's an impressive
shirt on. It's the mascara. I'm telling you, if anybody is you're ever feeling like you need to wake up, you just throw on mascara and lip gloss and you're like, you're good.
I believe that. Yeah, okay. All right. That's what I'm going to do in the future when I'm like, I'm not going to wake up.
But you literally like just throw on the mascara and you're like, I'm so awake.
I love that. Oh my God. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for having me on.
My lighting is entertaining me to no end right now because I've got like the sun and then like other lights. So I might turn into a ghost. It's going to be fun. Like, where's
no worries.
Robyn? Don't know. But no, I'm just so excited to have you and like randomly chat because you are so interesting.
Okay.
So much going on. And like you're an influencer, which is so cool. Because I have no influence over people. So like, how does that feel to influence people?
It's a funny thing because in the beginning, like I really wanted to work with brands that had like, one of my sayings, and this is a long time ago when I started supporting Cheekbone Beauty in the sense of like, Jen and I, like we know each other personally and things like that, which guys, please go check out Cheekbone Beauty. And one of the things that I kind of quoted going back probably 2016, sorry, my dog's barking, was to make a purchase with a purpose. And that's always kind of been my thing. So as an influencer, going through that was really interesting because there's this, dynamic of like, oh, we got to make money and then. But for me, one of the things that I've always tried to say is like authenticity is so important for myself. And if I just don't connect with a brand or I don't feel like the products are good or like they're doing good in the world, I have a really hard time with promoting that brand. I've never been a great salesperson in the sense of, like, oh, buy this and doing the rebuttals. I'm like, you don't want it? Okay, cool. Like, God, the product's shit anyway. Like, I've always been like really bad at sales that way. So the idea of being an influencer has really changed for me because at first I thought it was about branding and products and getting people to engage that way. And what I've kind of come to realize is that being an influencer is really more about just being your authentic self and having people connect with that. And they hear your stories, they like your stories, and they find a piece of themselves in it. So the idea of like, as I even think, the idea of influencing, I'd like to almost call it more of like a pathway provider. But it's just too many freaking words. You know, versus influencing, because I think sometimes when we think about influencing is, I know it's crazy. I kind of think it can have a negative connotation around like you're trying to change someone's mind. And that's never what I want, right? So this idea of being an influencer is definitely interesting. It takes you down so many different paths, and it really gets you to have to reflect on yourself and who you are and kind of what you want to change, what you want to influence. So yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. There's so many learning curves, and the social media aspect on its own. Let me just tell you, if you actually choose to be an influencer, like be prepared. It is a full-time social media job, which I just don't have the time for. So I've actually backed away from it a little bit and just kind of have taken some time to myself. I think that's kind of more important right now. So
No, for sure. Right? Like if you're not good yourself, then like you can't influence. Or the pathway provider.
yeah.
PP.
Yeah,
I like
PP.
it.
Mm.
But it's so like it's so interesting because I always think that people like even you, I'm like, oh my God, you share so much. I know you and you're like, there's always a little bit that you're not sharing, which I think is because like if people share everything, and I know, I'm like, that's a lot. But like you also share not just the positive, sometimes your struggles, which I think, oh hey, human, which I appreciate because it's like, hey guys, maybe today wasn't the best day, and I'm like, oh cool, other people are struggling. So it's I commend.
So there's a bit of a lag on my end, so you'll just have to bear with
there's
me.
A delay. It's really weird. I was commending you.
Yeah, I think it's always just like it's my stupid Wi-Fi. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the other piece of it is like, you know, when I grew up, the one thing that my mom did have an opportunity to put me in, even though we were extremely poor, was modeling, because they ended up sponsoring me when I was really young. So I went into that at like 3 years old and was in it kind of through my younger years. And when I look back at to like why I thought, you know, always putting the positive out, always looking, you know, hair done, nails done, all these kinds of things, and it really eats away at you. Like you see these people, and you know they're always looking fabulous, and they're always got their A game on, and it does, like, it makes you wonder, like we question our own lives and compare ourselves around those people. And growing up like that, and having it, you know, caused me a lot of mental health issues and eating disorders and just bad relationships, thinking that, you know, my beauty is what people wanted. And you know, I don't want that for our younger generation, like for our future generations. And so for me, that's always been really important about uplifting young voices and letting them be who they are, and really embracing that piece. I think that, you know, with a social media aspect, it's so powerful, and we have to be really careful how we use it. It's really like lighting a fire around a bramble bush, you know? You want to just make sure that you're not catching everything else on fire and burning it down to the ground. And that's what social media has the capacity to do. But it also has a capacity to, like you said, influence in a good way. You know, let people know that we're all going through struggles. There's days where like my hair looks great. There's days where it looks like I stuck my finger in a light socket. And I just think that the more that we're yeah. And I think the more that we're authentic with ourselves, I know, right? The more that it gives people an opportunity to be authentic and not have to worry so much. I mean, we're always going to question who we are. We're always going to have insecurities. We're always going to compare ourselves to others, because it's just human nature. We're territorial, right? And the purpose of us is to evolve and grow. And we should be doing that every so many years. Like we wake up one day, we're like, oh my God, like I'm such a different person than I was 5 years ago. And that's a good thing, right? So to kind of share those trials and tribulations, and just every chapter of the book really means so much towards the ending, right? You want to build that kind of catalyst to like get people to be like, oh, this is so cool and interesting. And to do that, you can't be the same all the time. It's yeah, it's an interesting world, the social media.
I mean, it's like I definitely joke. I have no idea how to navigate it, which also makes for entertainment. I'm okay with that. I like being a dinosaur in a sense. That's fine. I've accepted it, except when
Yeah.
I'm trying to do these lives and I'm like, dear God, Instagram, why do you hate? Like what I love about and what I enjoy you about too is you're just so supportive of other people. Like we would audition and be in waiting rooms. Remember those? And like
Yeah, I know.
we would be
What? What
sitting
are
next to
audition
each
rooms?
other, going for the same role, and you would just be like, we would just be talking like not competitive. It's just whatever.
Hmm.
I feel like it was Jigsaw where I first met you in person.
Yes, it was.
And then you're just like, we're
Yeah,
going to go
yeah.
in, I do my thing, you do your thing. And I'm like, this is just such a healthy way to be. And I just appreciate when it's like, you're really, your competition is yourself. Yeah.
No, and
I
I
appreciate that whole like
agree.
women helping women kind of thing and like actor helping
Yeah.
actor, right? Because it's whatever the client wants at the end of the day, but it's just it
Yeah.
feels supported because you're like, I'm going. Yeah. No, but I'm like, I miss that, but I also like not having to travel for hours.
Oh
Here's
my
myself, Dave.
God.
Here's my face. Here's how I talk, and we'll see. But I
Yeah,
love how
I
much you've been like. I've learned so much from everything that you've been doing. I just felt
there's definitely a leg.
so educated, and that's also like not even the influencer part, just like the information you share. It's great.
Yeah, I think
Well, there's like an
you
awkward
know,
delay now, and I don't know
yeah,
what
there's like a really
I'm like
a really long
what you
delay.
last heard.
I heard
Uh,
everything. I
okay.
heard it all.
But one of the things I
So it's
thought was
just
super
taking some time.
interesting.
I'm just catching
Yeah.
up.
Oh, go ahead.
So I know it's so hard. So like I'm like, are you talking? Are you talking? No, one of the things about audition rooms is yeah, I mean like their anxiety building already on their own. And so when you're in them and you see all these people that are, comparative to you and you know that they're going for the same role, it's hard to not again compare yourself and to think like, oh, are they gonna like her? Oh, I should have wore that shirt. That color looks great. Why didn't I do that with my hair? There's all these pieces, and then we lose ourselves. And we get into that audition room and we've now left ourselves back there and we've brought in this person that actually doesn't belong to us because we're trying to be everything else. And it was only until we started getting into this COVID thing and I started doing self tapes and watching myself that I was like, oh my God, like now I know when I choke up in the audition room because that's not what I'm bringing in there. And I just think that it's like you said, like they're going to choose what they want. It's not, I got a really great saying from one of my acting coaches, which I absolutely loved. And it's like, with commercials and things like that, it's like buying a lottery ticket. You buy the lottery ticket, you're really excited about it, you hope you're going to win, but then you don't. And that's okay. You just buy another lottery ticket next week. And, having that perspective was like, yeah, like it doesn't, don't let it take away from you. And I think in this industry, it's so hard to not be competitive. It's so hard to not wonder, like, oh, like, what did she do? Like, she got the role and I didn't get the role. But like, I've just over time come to realize there is enough space for everyone. Like, there's enough space for everyone. And we're all, chains on a link, right? Like, if we just treat each other kindly, we're all going to rise. And I think the other thing that I've realized is how, even though this entertainment industry is so large, it's also so small. So you don't know who's going to make it. You don't know who's going to become a director or a writer or those kinds of things. So for me, it's always really important to treat everybody with kindness, to treat everybody with respect, because they're going to remember that. And it has worked out for me in the end that way, where I've had people reach out and be like, hey, like I saw you in the audition room, or so and so, you've worked with them. They said you were really great. I'd love for you to audition for me. those pieces are so essential. So we have to stay humble and we have to not let our heads get big. And I think that's really hard to do in this industry, especially like when you make a really big paying gig or, you get a role that you were really hoping for, because you want to be excited and proud of yourself, and you should be, just as long as we're not dragging other people down with us as we're doing that. So I just, I kind of try to give that energy out when I'm around other people in the industry, because I hope that in return that they'll do the same and not be a dick. Mhm.
It's funny. I don't know about you, but when I book something, I'm surprised. It's always like, really? That one? I don't know. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I mean, like I've booked jobs where I thought my auditions were terrible, and then have been like, oh, I so got that. I so landed that. And then I was like, oh, I didn't book it. So it really is just like, it's a toss up. You'll never know. But yeah, the shock, like I remember, when I booked the Spark Train, which should be coming out soon. It's a hosting gig for a really kind of actual cool, like training educational videos for all different types of like real estate and I don't know, fast food restaurants. They have all these different components. And it was a really massive booking. And I remember just sitting in my living room being like, oh, wow. Like I actually booked this. And even when I was flying to Montreal, I was still like a little in my head, like, oh my God, like I still felt like I was auditioning. Like even though I booked it, I felt like when I got to set, I was like, okay, bring your A game, Nadia. Like, they might fire you, so be careful. So yeah, I mean, it's always a shock. But I think that's a good thing. I think that if we're landing things and being like, yeah, I totally got that, we need to check ourselves then, because it should be exciting and it should be kind of a bit of a guessing game, because I think that that's when you always bring your best foot forward, because you feel like, okay, I still got to put a little into this to make it happen. So
Yeah. But you talked about coaching before. You're still with like LB, right? With LB Acting Studio?
I am. I'm gonna give them a little plug.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Lewis,
say that again.
shout out.
Yeah.
I was saying a Lewis shout out.
Yeah, I really recommend LB Acting Studio. I mean, I know everybody has their own way of learning. They've got their own kind of need, essentially. Like I've been to some other acting coaches, and they've been really great too. But Lewis just for me clicked. I think being a therapist as well, like having this the physiology of it and all of that, putting yourself into it, and just the way that he sees our acting careers, it just makes so much sense to me. And it's really interesting because I'm also on their BIPOC mentor committee. And I just thought, what a beautiful thing to put together. And he really does put himself into all of it. And so do all of his coaches. So I can't say enough about LB Acting Studio. I think everybody should go give it a try. If it's not for you, cool. But I highly doubt that you won't enjoy it.
Yeah, no, they're a great studio. Definitely. And like the people there are super nice too, which is great because you're like reading and stuff out there in front of other people, and you're like, oh, everyone's not judging me. This is very healthy.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I appreciate that. But yeah. But how's the mentoring going? Like, do you have how does that work? The mentoring program at LB?
So it's interesting because so we have an email. People can email in, and if they have questions or they're unsure about something, and it doesn't have to be specifically about, being BIPOC, right? I mean, that's essentially what it was made for. So people have a safe space to go where they can ask the questions they probably would be too scared to either ask their agents or ask in the room. But it's also one of those things where you can email and you can say, I really had to want to ask Nadia a question, and they'll provide me the question. They'll be like, so and so sent us an email. Feel free to connect, and then we can have chats much like this, right? Whether they have a FaceTime or a Zoom, and just help guide them around being in the industry as a BIPOC person, and, you know, what they can do, what they should essentially not have to put up with. You know, it's interesting because coming into this, one of the things that I've always said, you know, and I learned from my dad, is that, you know, you don't put yourself in other people's boxes. You don't check off boxes that don't belong to you. And so being an urban Indigenous person who was, you know, essentially, my family was disconnected from their land. You know, that was one of the things that I always had to be really careful of, because, you know, there is space for everyone, but at the same time, I don't need to take up certain spaces. So there's like just things in regards to like grants and opportunities that I just wouldn't go for that are meant for Indigenous people, because I realize that I'm super white passing and I've had a lot of privilege in that, and growing up in the city and all those kinds of things. So I think that there sometimes can be, you know, questions around where do I fit in, right? And how do I navigate my career in the entertainment industry in these pieces without doing harm to our communities and our people? And, you know, I don't know if you heard about the, you know, big thing that happened within the Indigenous, I don't want to throw out names, but there was a big kerfuffle of stuff that happened recently in our Indigenous communities in the film industry, and we call them pretendians, which is really harmful to our communities. And I think no matter what BIPOC community you come from, when we have people who are trying to appropriate and to put ourselves into those boxes, it really makes us hesitant about wanting to go forward and wanting to audition for certain things or wanting to write stories. And I think it's great that there's this opportunity where people can reach out and be like, hey, is this a story I should write? Is this something that I can do? Will I get in trouble for it? So yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting, but essentially people can just email LB Acting Studio and they'll be able to connect with us if they have any questions at all. Please, like, no, I know that saying is so annoying, but no, like, there's no stupid questions. I think it's so important that we ask them, because I'd rather people ask them than get in the room and do something. And then, you know, that casting agency is like, yeah, no, we're not going to ever bring that person back. You know, you don't want to ruin your career before it started. So, and to take chances. Yeah, it's such a great thing that they've created.
But like that's such an important thing, because I know, you know, I like to torture myself, so I watch my former self tapes, and if someone would have told me things not to do in the room before I did that, I'm like, oh God, I got, okay, moving on.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I know. I remember I auditioned for the movie Blood Quantum by Jeff Barnaby. He's a Mi'kmaq director out of Quebec, and he's, you know, I've never worked with him before, but I was so excited to do this audition. Blood Quantum, like, just boomed. Deborah Jacobs ended up getting the role, and she's kick ass. So like, I'm so glad she did. I'm so in awe of her. And I look back at that audition tape because I was so new in it. I had just signed an agent. I had only done one other thing. And now when I look at that audition, I'm like, how did you turn this in, Nadia? Like, how? Like, so I knew nothing about close-ups, wide shots, nothing at all. I literally filmed the whole thing in full body. I knew nothing about backdrops or lighting. You could see a window in the background. It was so horrendous, so horrendous. And I think to myself, Jeff must have watched that and been like, I'm like, I'm never bringing her this one. Like, this woman's crazy. She's crazy. I ended up meeting Jeff later at Imaginative, and he seemed quite all right. And luckily, I don't think he remembered me auditioning for him. So I was just like, yeah, we'll just, you know, let that one go. Let it sweep that one under the rug.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so embarrassing.
But like, that's my favorite part when I do these auditions, and I still remember them. Like, they torment me. And then I meet the person I auditioned for. They don't have no idea that, like, they don't know, they remember this, and like, this is something that haunts me. I'm like, it's so interesting. I don't know why I'm letting this get to me. I should move on, but I don't.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I had an opportunity to actually audition for Deborah Jacobs. She was writing a film and directing a film, and I remember my first audition, she wasn't in the room. I nailed it. They called me back, and then she was in the room, and I was like, like, like it literally, my whole body shut down because I was like fangirling in the room, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm literally sitting across from Deborah, and because I had done the first scene already, I did really good, did one take. She's like, yeah, no, we can move on, and I was like, okay, that's good. And then the second scene I hadn't done yet, so I had been practicing it at home. And one of the other things I think is really important is like get feedback from people, but be careful to really go with your gut, because that is one thing I've learned, that if you try to, like, again, take somebody else and put them in, that you lose the whole realness of like who you are in that character. And I recognize that with that second scene. And so because of that, she started reading to me I did the first one and it was good, and then she wanted me to do a different kind of take, and I froze. Like I literally stared at her for like, it felt like an hour, but I'm sure it was only like 5 seconds, but it felt like an hour, and she's just looking at me like, are you gonna be okay? Like, what's happening? And when I left, I realized I was just so in shock of being in front of her and losing myself, essentially, not in a good way, in the audition, that I literally just did the exact same take. And I was like, oh, I walked out that door, and the minute I closed the door, I wanted to turn around and be like, can you let me do that again? Like I totally don't, but at the same time I didn't want to go back and be like, hey, I totally fangirled, so can you just like let me do this again? So I just let it go. I let it go. And, me and Deborah talk a little bit. Like, we're not, I won't say we're friends, but like, I know her now on Instagram, and we do talk on Instagram. And, I'm like, I wonder that at some point I will bring it up to her, I'm sure, when it's the right time. I'll be like, so do you remember my face, actually? Because I stared at you long enough that you should have. So. So half of what you're saying, I did not hear. I'm gonna try something.
She won't remember. She won't remember, and you'll be like, why was this in my head? Like, that's the amazing. I can tell you whom and what I did wrong, and they're just like, yeah, it was just another audition. I honestly don't remember. Feedback. I was just saying, you'll probably, if you.
It's just the leg. Okay. Yeah, it's totally. Sometimes I find, like, if I take the Bluetooth off, that the leg isn't as
just
bad.
a brief lag break, because
that.
that's how we roll here. Oh, okay.
Oh man.
Kind of better. Okay. We're like,
slowly. Maybe if we don't move, it'll catch up.
Kinda.
Okay.
Also, being a hooker is not helpful when there's a lag, because I'm just like word vomiting, and it's like,
yeah,
I heard one word, Robyn, so I'm gonna slow down my pace.
No worries.
I'm gonna assume it's okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay, and I'm like talking, hello. That's why I kind of love-hate relationship for these right now, because it's such a great way to connect, but it's also technology and Wi-Fi and God, I don't know. Okay.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
But you're doing another one, right? You're doing what was the name of it again? I can't remember. You're starting to do some like what was it?
Oh, the anti-banter.
Or my total. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so the anti-banter is kind of, it just, one day I was like, I want to do something fun, because I do a lot of dramas. Like, my whole resume is pretty much drama, other than Camp Cowabunga. So I was like, I want to be able to show this other side of me, where I'm not always serious and crying and yelling and screaming and in movies. And oh my God, my dog won't shut up.
Okay.
So yeah, like, the anti-banter is just, it's going to be a talk show. We're still in, I guess, I don't know, I'm not a director or writer, so I guess it's called pre-production. We're still doing interviews with our guests and setting up, you know, me and Monica, we're both Mi'kmaq, so we were like, you know what, there's not essentially a show out there that is really geared for like our age and our humor and just keeping topics light. Some of the topics we talk about are kind of heavy, but then we've got some games and quizzes and things that we're kind of throwing in there. We've got some really amazing guests that are coming on, but essentially it's really just talking about stupid shit. Like, again, if you get to watch the little clip on YouTube, like I actually say, like, so is this an X-rated show? Like, are we allowed to swear? Like, what's going on here? But that's just because like humor is such a big part of, you know, the Indigenous identity. Because we've had to have humor for so long to keep us, you know, going and healing. And so having that component to a show is just, it's who we are. And yeah, I mean, we've got some really great ideas coming up, but you know, it's one of those things that it's like, as a woman, like the other day, I don't know how I end up doing this, but I don't know about you, but like when you take your pants off at night, I tend to just like leave my underwear in my pants, I guess, or something. And then I will like, if my pants aren't dirty, like, yes, I do wash my clothes, people, but if my pants aren't dirty, I'll like fold them up and I'll just like sit them on top of my dresser. So like, I'll put them back on and then I'm like, oh, there's underwear in here today. I don't know how many times I have done that, where I put my pants on and there's been like underwear in the pant leg, and I'm like, oh, right. I mean, I also have another pair on, like clean pair, but I'm just like, you know, like stupid shit like this. Just like real talk, like real stuff that happens to people, or maybe it only happens to me. I don't know. Again, creating pathways for people to be authentic.
Oh my God, I love that so much. I don't, but I throw my pants up somewhere and they go some, but I'm like, that is the best story. I can imagine me like wearing 2 pairs of underwear by mistake one, like, oh crap, that was the extra one.
Yeah, like it literally happened to me this morning. Like I pulled on my jeans.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what is that in my leg? And I'm like, oh, it's a thong. It's underwear. I was wondering where these went. You know, like missing sock situation, except it's underwear.
Hello.
So yeah, that's what anti-banter is going to be about. It's just going to be about ridiculousness and just like telling the stories that nobody apparently wants to tell, or maybe even hear.
I would love. I feel like this story has to be out there for everyone to hear because it's sick. But I love that though, right? It's just like, this would happen. Because honestly, I bet you a bunch of people do this, right? It's just about being relatable and just, this happened to me. Okay, I will share a story because I felt like a total moron. What are these, the AirPod things? I had them in the case and I had a pocket and I'm like, gonna fall out. And they fell on the toilet yesterday. And they're very expensive. So yes, I dig them out of the toilet. It was a little gross.
They still work?
They still work. They're waterproof? Okay. I don't know. They still work, and oh my God, I can't tell you the amount of Lysol wipes I use, but now I put them on my ears. I'm like, these are toilet ears. These are sprays that need to be out there.
Yes, right because like, this shit happens.
Yeah. I'm like, why does it fall in the toilet? I don't understand why. If I'm like, oh, because it's a very loose pocket and I was being silly and I knew it was gonna fall, but I'm like, it won't fall. And trust your gut. We're going back to that. I'll trust your gut. Yeah. It will fall. It guaranteed fall in the toilet.
And that's always the way it is. Like when we think like things aren't gonna happen, but we know in our hearts that they will. That's what I say. Like, follow your gut, guys. If you even have 1% of an instinct, something's going to happen.
A lot of hearts for that
it's
comment.
going to happen.
Like we have a lot of, yeah, stuff fell in the toilet for me too the other day. I feel ya.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
No, it's, you know, it's, and that's like, I think we need to do more of that. And I think that's the other piece about the social media thing. Like, so many people right now are feeling depressed. We're going through this COVID situation. It's winter here in Canada. And it's really like, difficult
you don't
to
want to
navigate.
be putting dirty earbuds in. They still work. It's
this leg. Okay.
It's so, and that's
I'm really enjoying this conversation.
And you're a worker, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I was saying you're a social worker, right?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that for, I started volunteering actually in the social service sector in 2000.
Okay.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't understand why I want to like
you're catching
maybe my dad, and I'm afraid it will cut off.
It's bad.
Okay.
I wonder
if I can rejoin. I'm gonna try and rejoin.
Data, however you want to pronounce it. Tomato. Oh, okay. I'm gonna talk.
Is that any better? What happened? Is that better?
Hi.
Hi. Is that better? No.
I don't know. No. We can. Yeah, we're trying our best. I think it adds comedy, which we had said we need more of in the world. So there you go.
And I think everybody's also dealing with this. I think the leg is like a real thing. Like, it's like a traumatic event for people now.
But it's hard. Like, that's the funny thing too, because we want to communicate and there's a lag. This is just comes up poor communication issues. Like, people aren't hearing you. Mm-hmm. There's a lag. This is getting deep.
I know. Well, it's a good thing I'm a social worker then. We can work through these issues.
If anyone I had to have a lag with, I'm glad it was you. I swear this never happened before, but really it happened the other night.
That's the thing, right? But yes, sorry, going back to what you're saying, I am a social worker.
Oh, yeah.
I've been a therapist for, going close to 15 years now. And I've worked in all different areas. I've worked in developmental, child protection, trauma, addiction, mental health, parent coaching, relationship coaching, sex therapy, worked in it all, right? And it's interesting how it actually helps me, I think, in the entertainment industry, because I have so many stories I can pull from, and I'm able to feel everything. The one thing, though, I do find that it has kind of negatively impacted is, as a social worker, we have to over time desensitize ourselves to things. And so sometimes when I get scripts, I really have to work to be able to allow myself to feel that again, because we just learn to shut things down and like take ourselves away from things. So that's kind of been interesting as well, because it's like, okay, Nadia, this is a really sad scene, and even now I'm laughing about it. But finding the truth in that moment, and who I am in that character, and finding that similarity, right? And so it's been interesting.
But yeah, no, especially because you get all the dramatic roles, and it's definitely hard. I get what you're saying with the desensitizing, because I find I'm a physiotherapist when I feel like it. I still have my license, but no. I find for me, like, when I get one of those scenes and I'm like, hey, this is what I would do. And I'm like, okay, where's the human aspect? I'm like, I don't know. I have to make myself a robot because this person's in danger and let's heal them. But I'm like, that's not what they want to see on camera. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. No, it definitely makes for, like, I even when I'm reading scenes, like I've learned now not to rush it and to really like read it and read it. And I'll tape. I actually, and I don't know if this will work for anyone else, but like a thing that I found for me is I will tape my, like if it's for a pretty big role, I'll tape a self tape the night before I actually plan on doing my audition, and I'll tape it and watch it and really like watch it. And then and then that night I get to sit and think about it and be like, oh, this is actually what I should have done. And this is how that should have played. And so then the next day going into it, I'm feeling much more comfortable. And I find like, yeah, like I really, they say, let the script read you, like essentially read it a few times. And the other thing I do is I love to read. So now I'm kind of like trying to read it as a story versus like so focused on memorizing my lines. Read it like a story, feel those emotions. And then I find that the lines carry with that. It just makes it so much easier.
For sure. I even try, I don't know if you do this, I've tried to do a lot more. And then I find when I'm writing out scripts, I'm like, okay, this is what I want from the out actually saying it. So then when I read a script now, I'm like, oh, yes, I can kind of understand why they didn't write this. And I don't know. Everyone has their own process. There's no right or wrong. But I just find it so like attacking it from different angles versus just, okay, memorize and go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having, had the opportunity to work behind the camera, just like, we were at the Northwest Territories and teaching the kids and watching them write their stories and things like that. And also working in really close relationship with some writers and directors and having an opportunity where they're like, would you say it like this? Does it feel like this? Like, I wrote it like this, but what do you think about this? And being able to be kind of behind those scenes and processing it and watching yourself too, having the availability for the director to be like, hey, do you want to see this? And I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? Let's get a little deeper into that. Really has also helped me. So again, it's just experience, right? Having that experience. And I do say to people, and they're like, I want to get into acting, I want to do things. I'm like, first off, try community theater. If you can get into community theater and get yourself out there, because I did theater when I was young. And although
I did not,
theater doesn't translate well in auditions for film and TV, so I learned early on that, if you have that experience, and volunteer, like if you see something in a group forum where they're like, hey, we're looking for cast and crew, like volunteer, learn about sound, learn about behind the scenes cameras, angles, all that kind of stuff, staging. Like it makes a massive difference in your performance, because when you get to know those kinds of things, you're not so worried about them in the audition, like, oh crap, my hair, okay, oh, do I want the plant here, do I want, and then you lose yourself again, right? So I mean, it's always good to do.
Yeah, that's true. So exposed. Oh no, that's not the right word. Good, let's say
Or do, it depends what kind of film industry you're getting into.
That is true. We were talking about different scenes the other day. Oh my gosh. Robyn told me, oh God. Yeah, that's messed up. What are you working on right now other than the because I saw you were doing the one film that I was really, the water problem. I thought that was I love that you work on projects that have such a strong message. And I love that. And again, I know it's more serious, dramatic, but I love when people create story, because that's how I learn. I'm like working my way through Netflix on learning all this stuff because I like the visual, I like the auditory, and the way they collect it and they make it like very well presented versus reading a history book and I'm bored. So I love that you do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as an actor too, like stories and how you portray them are so important. And I think when you have an opportunity to bring awareness to something, you should, you know. And I've been really fortunate to work with John Elliott, who's an amazing Tuscarora director and out from Six Nations. And he just has such an amazing passion for wanting to bring awareness to our communities and what's really going on there in our Indigenous community. And he's amazing. Like his cinematography, like just his vision. I wish I had his vision. And so whenever he's, you know, asks me like, hey, do you want to collaborate on this? Do you want to do this? I'm just like, yeah, like I don't care if it's non-paying. I don't, you know, because for me, it's like people have a hard time, I think, taking in stuff when it's just a lot of verbiage, or they don't understand it, or they can't visualize it. So being able to put these messages into film and to talk about them in a different narrative really makes people like take a step back, and they can, as much as, you know, you don't want to like water things down, in a sense sometimes you need to just to get them, you know, to listen and to understand. So Along the Water's Edge was really important because what most people don't realize is, you know, an hour away from Toronto there is a reservation that is dealing with the water issue. You know, they don't have clean drinking water in their homes, or, you know, to even bathe or shower in. And they do have to go to drive their trucks to go get water, you know. And I find it interesting that people will see these advertisements and hear about the stuff in Africa or the, you know, or any, you know, third world country where we're seeing people having to walk with water jugs. And we're like, oh my God, these poor people, how do they not have clean water? But yet an hour away from Toronto, people are doing the same thing. So I think that it's just really important that we have these opportunities to tell these stories. But what's also important is that the right people are telling the stories, and it should be coming from an Indigenous person and an Indigenous narrative. You know, I never lived on the reserve, so it wouldn't make sense for me to write a story about that, but I'm happy to collaborate with people who have those experiences, and I can help bring a truth to that matter. And, you know, it's the same for when we were doing Her Water Drum about, you know, missing and murdered Indigenous women. And when we were on Six Nations, we were filming in a home. And that was one of the things that really hit me hard was, you know, not being able to wash my hands in that water. Like I you know, they had to bring drinking water in for us. And I thought to myself, so how is it that these people have to survive this every single day? So if people do get a chance to watch Along the Water's Edge, I think it's really important because it's not just about our Indigenous nations, it's about the whole world. And if we keep going the way we're going, you know, we are going to taint all of our water, and we're all going to be in this predicament. But why do we have to wait until it affects all of us to start making that change, right? So, you know, being in these kinds of movies, and the same with Acknowledgement that just came out as a part of the awareness series for the Toronto Museum. You can access that on YouTube on the Toronto Museum's channel. And we did a piece, you know, John wrote it and directed it, but I was part of it with John about acknowledgement and land acknowledgement. And are we giving credit where it's due? And do you know the true histories of our lands and the lands that we have prospered from? Like all of these stories need to be told. So for me, I'm just always so honored, and I'm always like, okay, bring your best, like do it justice, because these are such important stories to tell. But yeah, I mean, I think like no matter whatever your passion is, whatever you're advocating about, whatever you want to see, when we talk about that influencer piece and you want to see that change there, if you can find a way into it, do it. You know, it doesn't, I mean, for me, the Indigenous piece, just because of, you know, my family's history and stuff like that is important to me, but it doesn't matter what it is, you know, anti-trafficking, it could be anything at all. I feel like people, yeah, should take this opportunity. We have a platform that most people don't get, you know, and I think that everybody's going to deal with it differently. Not everybody is very open and vocal as I am, and that's okay, right? You can do things behind the scenes, or you donate or send food or whatever it is you're doing. But we have an obligation. And I think as a white passing person, I have an obligation to, you know, to bring those to the forefront and to create pathways for those who are telling those stories to start telling them,
you know, like I know that I have a privilege, and I think that in that I have an obligation to use it to the best of my ability to help those who don't. So yeah, I love doing that kind of work.
But I mean, it has such an impact. I like, because you're just getting that out. Like, I try not to be ignorant, but then when I see these films and I'm just learning so much, it really is. It's such a powerful thing, and we should always be aware of what's going on. Like, I know even, well, they didn't have the Toronto Fringe this year, like, but even then, like, everyone, okay, the land we're on, we should acknowledge it. So I feel like it's a slow process. I don't know why, but it's just like, I think we're very slowly working there, but it's just it's a crawl.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't care if it's 2 steps, 1 step, as long as people are moving forward with it and are, you know, challenging their own narratives. And if it makes you uncomfortable, figure out why. Why does it make you uncomfortable? Why do you feel so like you have to protect yourself around it? You know, that speaks so loudly. And people, they do challenge me. You know, I get that a lot of like, well, you know, but like that was so long ago. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like, it's still happening, literally. You know, and like, I'm like, if it bothers you, figure out why. It's usually because there's a truth in it. And if the truth is hard to swallow, it's scary to admit that, like, holy crap, yeah, I guess my ancestors probably didn't do the right thing. But knowing that I now have an opportunity to do the right thing, right? So that's where I think that change can be made. Like, we don't want people to be angry and hurt and take blame. We want them to take action, which I think is a very different thing.
For sure, for sure. I feel like change for anyone in general is challenging.
Yeah.
Like, this COVID alone, it's like everything is the world's whatever it is, but it's, I mean, as long as everyone's just, I feel like when we work collaboratively, things get done. I don't know how to make that happen sometimes. So yeah, but as long as there's people like,
though, right? Like, but even this, like, having me on and being open to listening to those pieces, you're already an ally. And by having this kind of conversation on IG where people that I don't know that aren't following me can hear, who knows? One person might be like, yeah, I want to know more about that and get into it. So already we're creating pathways for people to get engaged and to hear these stories. I mean, this could have been a conversation that we didn't have, right? Like, some people, I mean, I haven't had this happen, but I'm sure there's people out there that are like, okay, like, I want to have you on, but can we not talk about the Indigenous thing? Like, can we just focus? Like, people do it, right? So, I mean, it is one of those things where I'm like, this already is helping to create change.
Oh, I just think you have so much, like, you have such an interesting background that, like, I can't speak for it, and I just want people to know about it. So I love how open and articulate you are with everything. It's like, coming from me versus you're like a very powerful impact. So
no, you know, when people ask me, like, here, just watch this video. I don't know what to say, but you just watch this video.
Just had some good lines here today. That I sounded smart.
Yeah. I can't re-say it, so, you know, yeah. Here's a couple links. Just follow those. You know what? Sharing the links, I'm happy with that too.
No, this is great though. Is there anything you want to, like, promote, or any websites we should go to? Anything?
That could be a whole other hour, but yeah, I'll try and get it done in 5 minutes. You know, for me too, the other thing that we're working on is the Child Welfare Political Action Committee, which is not politically associated. It's actually, we are a charity and a lobbying organization that works with politicians, ministers, and MPPs, things like that, to create policy around changes with youth aging out of care. And my best friend, child best friend, Jane Kovarakova, you can Google her. She's amazing. She's going through, I think she's going to be a doctor at the end of this year, you know, just, I encourage everybody to look up the Child Welfare PAC. it's doing such amazing things. We've really done some great work in collaborations with universities, creating opportunities for if you were in the child welfare system at any age, and you are any age, you can apply for school and get some really great subsidies around that to go back, even if you're 55. We're just really trying to break down barriers and change that. And as a person with lived experience with the child welfare system myself, I just think that it's so important that we're creating better futures for these kids, because the whole system is so misguided. And we just want to, get those evidence-based policies out there. So that's the plug I want to put in. Guys, please go check out Child Welfare PAC. You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You can even just Google Child Welfare PAC. Lots of stuff will come up, mostly about Jane, which is also awesome because she's very open about her background and where she's come from. So yeah, and the other thing is the Influencers Motivate. We're a little bit on hold because of COVID, but Influencers Motivate is the organization that I'm a national ambassador with. And we go out into Indigenous communities and do wellness workshops with the kids in communities. And essentially it's just fun. Like, it's just so much fun. We did murals and film and artwork and acting and stuff with the kids, and getting to hear the elders' stories. It's so amazing. So if that's something you think you'd like to be a part of, then feel free, reach out to Influencers Motivate Can. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And people can message me if they want to know more too. But we were supposed to be out in Nunavut and going back out to the Northwest Territories last year and this year, and COVID's kind of put that all on hold. So we're just trying to navigate some virtual stuff. But hopefully I can get back out there. I miss it. It's so life-changing going up north.
I'm inspired to. I don't know how well I do in the cold, but kind of like
me either.
My little but no, thank you for sharing everything. This was I love chatting with you. You're great.
Anytime.
Sorry about the lag.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Enjoy, and I'll try and tag everything that you said so people can follow it. But yeah, thanks for this. You're awesome. And have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks everyone for joining. Namalthus. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.